Welcome to the show. This is No Interference. We are your hosts, Westside, Big Sass, and the Bull. The NFL draft is officially less than a week away, so we are just going to do the No Interference follow-up mock draft. We're just going to take turns making picks, doing a mix of what we think would be the right decision and what the team might do come Thursday. We're just going to alternate, go through, explain the reasoning, and we'll see how it compares in a few days. So Sasquatch has the first pick, so the Carolina Panthers are on the clock.
All right. This may not be what they do in real life. There's been a lot of rumors that they like Bryce Young, but I'm going to go with the quarterback who I think is the best in this draft and the safest pick, and that would be Mr. CJ Stroud of Ohio State.
Nice. Yeah, I know when we did our quarterback prospect show, neither of us were super big fans of Bryce Young, and CJ Stroud is more of the traditional number one pick build.
Now, not saying we're huge fans is a pretty stern accusation.
Okay, myself.
We don't like his size. He has playmaking ability and he can throw a nice ball. He just has some limitations he can't control that would concern me as a number one overall pick.
Correct.
When I have other options at my disposal as the number one overall pick.
Fair assessment.
If Bryce Young ever watches this, he won't be like, Sass doesn't like me. Now he'll just be like, Westside doesn't like me. And if he ever, wants to come on for an interview when he has a redemption, I'll still be available.
Fair enough.
I would have taken Bryce Young, so.
Well, then he'll just come for the Bull.
Well, CJ Stroud.
Get those other two losers off this stream, and I'll stay.
I'll only do the interview with the Bull.
Hey, if it gets it's an interview.
Yeah, I was like, for the channel. Bye.
Bye. See you later. But yeah, CJ Stroud, he's more of a prototypical build. He has 2 productive seasons at Ohio State. My player comp for him was Jared Goff, which I mean, very like a good comparison. I'm not trying to be disrespectful with that. So I have no qualms with this pick.
Solid.
Moving on. I have the second pick in the draft with the Houston Texans, and with the unexpected fall, I'm going to go with Alabama quarterback Bryce Young. The Houston Texans are desperate for a franchise quarterback. They need to recover and move on from the whole Deshaun Watson saga. Most people have Bryce Young as the number 1 quarterback of the draft. He, as we said earlier, he's size might be a concern, but he's accurate. He can improvise. His IQ's apparently off the charts. Maybe one of the best quarterbacks to come out of Alabama, if not the best in a long time. And worst case scenario, the Texans end up with a top 3 pick next year, and they can take another quarterback. That's where we're at with this current era of the NFL. You either succeed immediately or you get pushed to the side. But second overall pick, I'm sure the Texans are running up to turn in Bryce Young.
Poor Davis
I would
Mills.
agree.
Well, I liked him. This was his chance and kind of blew it this year. So on to the number 3 pick, the Arizona Cardinals. With you, RJ.
With the Cardinals, a lot of speculation with the trade and all that, but I think they should stay where they are and take Will Anderson.
If Will Anderson's going to fall to you.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying they're going to trade back, but I don't know why you trade back when you don't have besides Isaiah Simmons, there's really nobody there anymore that's a disruptor. He's not even. You don't have an edge rusher. I think there was the guy who led their team in sacks, somebody I never heard of. Zach Allen had 5.5 sacks last year. No pressure. Plus,
Yeah,
Will Anderson's a safe bet, safe pick. It might even been Jalen Carter if he didn't have his little issues. You just need somebody that's going to wreak havoc on opposing O lines. They got nothing. I know they have their issues on offense, but they still have talent. If they can get their offense put together, it's be pointless without any defensive pressure.
yeah, and we've seen the difference if you hit on a stud rookie pass rusher. We've seen the defense,
Instant
the
impact.
effect it can have. Yes, impact it can have on the defense as a whole. And I feel like, listen, Jalen Carter, he has his concerns. Will Anderson is like a perfectly clean prospect. If the Cardinals do trade back and he does end up falling to 3, I bet they would have a little bit of regret. So staying home and being able to land him, I think that's a smart move.
Yeah, because there's still some speculation that maybe even the Texans will take Will Anderson or forego the quarterback and just go with what they got.
And the Cardinals have shown that, because Will Anderson, his biggest critique is he's undersized, but the Cardinals have shown that they don't really care like where you might get plug and played in the defense as long as you have talent. So this might be a good fit for him.
Good point.
Moving on to the 4th pick with the Indianapolis Colts. Sass, who you taking?
So since Will Anderson went at 3 to the Cardinals and no team jumped the Colts to draft a quarterback, you would think I'm going to draft a quarterback. But just
you
kidding.
Said F. Let's say F every single mock draft out there.
Yeah, no. So Taylor and I discussed this last show. I don't know if this would be my philosophy. But they got a new coach, and Shane
Steichen.
Yeah, I don't know why I drew a blank with our old offensive coordinator. Yeah, I was like, it's Shane Steichen. Yeah, anyways. I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson here.
Oh,
I think the raw talent is, unmatched in, arguably NFL history as far as physical God-given abilities. He has a lot of work to do as a raw thrower of the football. Anybody could see that at the combine, and he has pretty limited tape at Florida. He only had one season starting?
One full season, yeah.
Yeah, one full season. He only had like 17 touchdowns passing last year, but the highlight plays were there. Just the cannon arm, the size, the running. I think Steichen proved throughout his time in the league that he can adapt his offense to his player's skill, which is the only reason why I pick Anthony Richardson here for the Colts, because I believe that he can build a solid offense around Anthony Richardson. I wouldn't expect him to come out here and, throw for 25 touchdowns. He might turn over the ball some, but if he can limit his turnovers and have a Jalen Hurts-esque season running the ball, get like 15 rushing touchdowns, 750 yards, maybe more. And they got Jonathan Taylor too. They got solid. Their offensive line, wasn't as good last year, but it's there still. Still got Quentin Nelson, some other guys, and their defense still has players as well.
Yeah, I've been on this pick for a while, and I actually think for a long time I was saying the Colts might actually trade up to get him. I know some reports are saying they have a thing for Will Levis, but you plug Anthony Richardson into the same system that you ran with Jalen Hurts. this opens up stuff for Jonathan Taylor and maybe gives him a bounce back year. The Colts' whole receiving core is either big bodies or deep threats. So you just, run your multiple read option scheme, throw the ball downfield which is what Richardson excels at. He might, again, like you said, might not have 25 passing touchdowns, but 15 passing touchdowns to go along with 10 rushing touchdowns. Him and Jonathan Taylor are going to probably combine to make this this will probably be a top 5 rushing team in the league with him and Jonathan Taylor. And we have said this is a weaker quarterback class, and he has by far the highest ceiling of maybe any quarterback we've ever seen if it works out. So I think this is a good pick.
Solid.
Grazie.
So moving on.
Numero 5.
What'd you say?
I just messed up something.
Oh,
I didn't hear him.
The 5th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks had a surprise year last year with Geno Smith. They have some needs, interior O-line, D-line, cornerback, or defensive back. But with this pick, I'm going to go with Jalen Carter. I know he has off the field issues, but just on the field talent, I think he is maybe the number 1 player in the draft. So getting him at 5 is a steal. He's, depending on where you look, 6'3", 310. He's super athletic for his size. He brings good power and what's the word I'm thinking about? A ferocity to the game with his pass rush moves. He probably could play almost any D-line position from nose to the edge. Any technique you want him lining up in, I think he could excel at it. So he's a type of player like J.J. Watt that you can move all over. Just like the thing with J.J. Watt when he was younger and he was dominating the league, a lot of the offensive linemen said that he would take like the first 2 drives just to find the weakness. And once he found it, he would just go to his coaches, hey, I can win all day from this spot. And then he would just attack that spot all game. I think Jalen Carter brings that same potential. And if he lives up to what we think he'll be and stays clean off the field, he will immediately reshape that defense for the Seahawks. Also, Pete Carroll has shown that he kind of can manage, I don't want to say head cases, but he can manage different personalities and keep players in check. So
For a little bit until he loses control.
But I think it's a good fit. I like Jalen Carter at 5.
Yeah, I think that's a sweet spot for him. You both know I'm hoping he falls to 10 to Philly, but I could see him going to Seattle.
I think at the end of the day, like unless more stuff comes out, he's just too talented to fall.
I'd agree.
All right, so going to number 6, the Detroit Lions. RJ.
I think the Detroit Lions go ahead and draft a player on the edge. Tyree Wilson. I think he's a perfect complementary edge rusher for their first overall pick last year. Or was he second overall, technically? Second overall. Their first overall. But he was second. Aiden Hutchinson, who was everything they wanted and a little more probably. They still didn't rank too high when it comes to sacks overall last year. They gave up way more than they produced, and as you can see, they finished 9-8. I don't think they go quarterback. I think Goff is playing well enough to, especially last year he was very solid to keep his job. So they're not going to go for like a Will Levis or anything. Just got to get that pass rush down. Either that or they could have went cornerback, but I think they're
Yeah, I was
going
gonna say
it's not who
overall
they go
talent.
with. It's who you went with.
Yeah, I'm going Tyree
Well, I was gonna
Wilson.
say Tyree Wilson. He's been a bit of a riser. He's super long defensive end. I think he's like 6'6" with 35-inch arms.
He's fast.
And he's. I mean, I think he's still pretty young, so he can, has a little bit of room to grow.
6'6", 271.
And the Lions, they could have kind of gone all over the place with this, but it definitely, I think, defensive line or corner. But Tyree Wilson will come in, pair up with Aiden Hutchinson. They have another defensive lineman. I can't remember his name. Is pretty good. And I mean, I always preach build from the inside out. So
and then they addressed some of the secondary issues in free agency already as well. Safety, like Gardner Johnson. Didn't they trade for a corner too? I know they traded Akuda because he's been injury prone and all that, but I think they traded for somebody else. Either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good pick too. I mean, he's 6'6", 271. He's fit. You mentioned his size and athleticism. Having him, is he able? I haven't watched enough of his highlights to know. Is he handing the ground a lot? Is he standing up some? Does he mix it up?
Technique and all that. Yeah, I think he can do it all.
It seems like he has the ability to athleticism. So I mean, as a tackle, you're standing up out there in your stance, and this guy's standing up opposite you, the same size as you almost.
Yeah, imagine him and Aiden Hutchinson just on opposite ends. Lions should get a little over just one game above 500 next year.
Yeah, gives them flexibility in the pass rush.
Oh, then you got Jameis Williams.
Oopsie-daisies.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's another conversation.
He's a Cablin man.
All right, my clock's about to run out. I'm running up to give my card to the commish.
Then he trips over a bottle of water. Who put that there?
What happens if they have to?
You get to
their pick just goes down, right?
The next team just has a chance to skip them.
What if it was like Madden and Goodell's like, oh well, you're taking.
They just auto pick. No, you can't force a trade in real life either.
The guys who always look super nervous at the tables, who have like the big shoulders, like their jackets don't fit, and they're sweating. They're like, "Come on, give it to me, give it to me."
Put it in.
I would love to see a guy running up to the stage who looks unathletic, and there's carts like RJ said, and just starts moving stuff out of the way.
Since there's a lot of fans are around the area, you got an opposing, rival team. Just the fan puts
Green Bay Packer fan, and it happens to be Aaron Rodgers. He lifts up his cap and he tripped the Lions player and takes his jersey off and ends up.
Crumbles to pieces.
All right, announce my pick, Taylor.
Oh, the number 7 overall pick, the Oakland. Not Oakland. The Las Vegas. Goodell makes mistakes too. The Las Vegas Raiders. Sass, you are on the clock.
All right. The Raiders, they have a pretty poor pass defensive team. They were 26th in the league in pass yards allowed per game. They also were last in the league in interceptions, so they need a playmaker back there. The one who I think is there's a few guys I could see going here, but I'm going to go with the one that I think you can plug and play, and that is going to be Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. He's got the size, the speed. He can go up there, I think, play, man press day one, keep up with guys downfield, make plays on the ball, get some turnovers that they were lacking last year. I think I've read on a few scouting reports that he could play with a little bit more aggression, but they can work with what he has already. So I think this would be a good pick for the Raiders.
I think he's got good size. I think he projects as a really good zone kind of match corner. But he has good skills. He was very good at Oregon. for me, I think he's the number one corner in the draft, just because there's some corners that are really good at one thing or the other, but I think he can fit in and pretty much any team, any scheme, and produce for you. Um, and like you said, the Raiders need pass defense help.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see him as like a Revis Island type player, though I think he can play man well. But a Richard Sherman type locking down the side of the field. If they can continue to build the defense, of course, not comparing to the Legion of Boom, but I think he can be the guy who makes those type of plays and just play style, obviously, not personality and whatnot.
Gotcha.
Since Richard Sherman's a crazy person on the field.
All right, so going to the number 8 pick, the Atlanta Falcons. I have this pick, and this was the pick I was the most unsure about. However, with the way the board has fallen, I am going to go with Broderick Jones out of Georgia. The reason I am going with him is I think of all the tackles in this draft, he has the most upside. He's 6'5", 311. He can go in left or right. He's a little raw, but he has the power and strength to be a road grader. At his heart, Arthur Smith wants to run the ball, and Broderick Jones is going to be nothing but a bonus in their run game to try and open up holes. I was teetering between him and Paris Johnson, but I like Broderick Jones. He can go on the right side, develop, and maybe one day take over as their future left tackle.
Solid.
Yep, I think that's a fair pick.
I would have gone D-line, but at this point, I think it would be a reach to grab anyone else on the board with Tyree gone.
Yeah, Falcons have a lot of needs, but that O-line needs some patching up to do. So I wouldn't argue with this pick if I was a Falcons fan.
All right, so next pick, number 9, the Chicago Bears. RJ, you got the pick. Who you taking?
Peter Skoronski.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Left tackle, Northwestern. I think Justin Fields is still in that process of ascending to be a true number one. He did a lot of really fun fantasy stuff last year running the ball, but we'll see how that goes. The O-line in Chicago is a little weak. He needs somebody to protect him. Skoronski looked great, in college. He's got a good size. He's fast. His combine was great. Showed his athleticism. He looked good in positional drills. A lot of people, I keep saying, I talked about it too and did a little bit of the trenches talk. He could probably do well as a guard too, because he doesn't really have that anchor. But he could bulk up a little bit. Who knows? You could probably start him right away too, which is nice.
Yeah, I think he might be one of the safer picks.
Give Justin Fields the protection he needs to make that step.
No complaints here.
Nope, not for me either. You're helping anytime you add a offensive lineman, especially tackle in the top end of half of the draft, especially top 10. You're helping your quarterback out, and they traded out of the number 1 overall pick because they believe they have their franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. Hopefully they can expand a little bit on what they did last year, throwing the ball and keeping some of that running game there. So no arguments here.
All right, going to pick number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles. Sasquatch, you are on the clock.
Who would have thought I have the Eagles? Oh, you have the Titans.
Well. Yeah, we'll see if RJ gets the Commanders later.
I do not.
I missed it I was looking at the board. All right, so this is interesting. The way this board fell, Jalen Carter at 5, RJ just picking How do you say his name? Skowronski.
Skoronsky.
Skowronski. That sounds right. At 10, I've seen him mocked to the Eagles a lot. I'm hoping Jalen Carter falls. I think that would be a great pick. I think this would be one of the bigger, whoa moments of the draft. The Eagles could pick corner here, or I guess I should say I could pick corner here. Got offensive linemen available. We got some edge guys available. But I'm going to go with the guy I think helps the Eagles put their offense to another level next year. And that's Bijan Robinson.
Baja Robinson.
Bajan blast through your defensive line. I think this is unlikely in real life, even though some of these latest conversations Harry Roseman has had with the reporters makes it seem like what's going on here. They just signed Jalen Hurts to a big contract. I still think that they made enough re-signings on the defense that adding a corner wouldn't be a bad idea, but it would be mostly a depth signing unless injuries happen because they have Bradbury back, Slay back. They have Maddox still. Those are your top three corners, whether you drafted corner at 10 or not. On defense, they still have Sweat for pass rush. Brandon Graham's back. Fletcher Cox is back. Hassan Reddick was, elite last year. The whole defensive line was. They could use some depth there as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if they went with a Nolan Smith. That was almost a pick here. You have Miles Murphy with Clemson. Or they could go for depth on the O-line, but currently assembled, they're fairly solid on the offensive line. So this is a luxury pick at 10 for a team that was in the Super Bowl. That doesn't happen. This is literally a luxury pick, in my opinion. And Bijan Robinson, I know people will say the value for running backs is not what it used to be, and I agree. But if you go back 10 years, he would arguably be a number one pick. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run between tackles. He can break tackles. He can run to the outside edge a little bit. So I think this would be a pretty good offense with him.
Yes.
Sorry, that was a lot to unload.
It's all right. I agree with what you said. It's a luxury pick. I wouldn't say he's like one of the special running backs to come out in recent years, but he's as close as you can get. I think he put up 2,000 yards all 3 years at Texas. My lazy, off the top of my head, comp for him is a slightly slower Saquon Barkley. He's not as fast or quite as big, but he has a very similar running style. He has hands. He probably not in the Eagles offense, but he could be like a 60 catch a year guy. Let's say if you get 90% Saquon Barkley, but he is healthy every year, I think 99% of people would run to the board to take that. So I like the pick.
Yeah, he also averaged almost I believe I saw it earlier today, 17 yards per catch, which is obviously elite, especially at the running back position. Even as a wide receiver, if you're averaging that, you're pretty explosive.
Yep. Moving on to pick 11, the Tennessee Titans. This is my pick. If you look at our board, Will Levis has fallen perfectly in their lap, but I'm
perfect or imperfectly.
Yeah, I'm not a Will Levis fan. I don't like him at all. you can give me all the positives about him, but I don't want him. I know if this were real life, I know it would
Don't
be
come
like
here.
literally, there's a real life. Roger Goodell would be like, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock. The pick is in. Will Levis. But this is my mock draft, and I'm going Paris Johnson and getting their left tackle for the next hopefully next 10 years.
You dirty whore.
He's he's 6'6", 315. He has all the length you need. He's very fluid, but still a powerful tackle. Moves well. I think he's a better pass protector than run blocker, but I mean, the Titans have not been able to protect the quarterback at all the last 2 years. And Paris Johnson, I think he handles all types of rushers very well. Once he engages with a rush off the edge, he pretty much shuts it down. I think he will do fine in the Titans' run scheme. And I mean, at one point, people were arguing if he should be a top like 3 or 5 pick. So the Titans being able to get him at 11 as a steal. So yeah, Paris Johnson, number 11. So looks like I messed up RJ's plan, but he has the Houston Texans with pick number 12. Just to keep you in the loop, we had the Texans taking Bryce Young at number 2.
Yeah, so number 12, I was going to have Houston Texans, which will probably still happen in real life. We'll see. They already, re-signed Laramie Tunsil, solidified that left tackle. They just drafted their future starter, hopefully franchise quarterback. I was going to have them take Paris Johnson in 12 to solidify the right side of the line. But realistically, since he is no longer on the board, they don't have anybody at wide receiver besides John Mechie and Robert Woods. Nico
That's
Collins,
true.
So I think they're going to go with Jackson Smith-Njigba at Ohio State to give somebody to throw, Bryce Young to throw to. Good size, athleticism. He's got everything. He's tall enough. He's not the biggest guy. I don't think there's too many big guys in this draft, size wise.
Yeah,
good acceleration off the line, good explosion. Try to go first round, mid first round, so I think it fits.
Yeah, I have a lot of people have that as the pick, and a lot of people are in agreement that he'll be the first receiver off the board. He's got decent size, he's got speed and athleticism. He was really good in 2021. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan, but that goes for most of the receivers in this draft.
It's just not a stacked receiver draft.
The Texans have John Mechie, who hasn't played a year, and I don't know where he's going to be coming into the season. Robert Woods, you can blame the Titans, but he looked like he kind of fell off a little bit last year, so who knows how it's going to be this year. So, I mean, you have to help out your rookie quarterback. There's no way you're going to take a rookie quarterback and expect them to succeed with what they have now. So, yeah, I have no complaints about this pick. I always forget how to pronounce his last name. Jackson Smith Njigba.
Yeah.
RJ nailed it when he picked it. I was like, give him a Hall of Fame number calling out, because I always look at his name and I'm like,
yeah. And I think he can succeed. I think he can play inside, outside, and he can get open. He can be the safety blanket for Bryce Young. So yeah, nice pick. Moving on, number 13, the New York Jets. Sasquatch, what are you going to do?
Whoops, daisies. All right. The Jets. Let's see. Some things haven't happened yet, which could change this pick. And that would be Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Not really sure what's going on that front. It sounds like they're still negotiating what they want in return, what the Packers want to give up. I don't know. I'm going to assume they're going to get Aaron Rodgers because the man himself says he wants to play for the Jets. They have an elite defense. They have a defensive-minded coach. They played well last year. They had Defensive Rookie of the Year in Sauce Gardner, who just recently said he wants to play for MVP. It's never going to happen because it's a quarterback's league, but good on him for having those hopes for himself. They have a solid running back in wow, now I can't remember his name.
Bryce,
What's their rookie
Brees Hall?
Brees Hall. Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, Brees Hall played well last year, and the Jets were playing well until he got injured. I'm not sure if he'll be ready for the start of the season, but I'm assuming he will be back sometime during the first quarter of the season. We'll see. And then they have their quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. The only thing I could see that they need to tighten the screws up a little bit would be on the offensive line. So I'm going to go. Sorry, it took me forever to get here. I should have said this first. I'm going to go Darnell Wright out of Tennessee.
Nice.
He has 4 years of experience playing and starting. Let me find my position thing here really quick. The Jets, they have some trouble on the tackle position. I believe they have who they had
Well, they
starting
have
last
Mekhi
year.
Becton, who can't stay healthy.
Yeah, he only played one game last year, and then they started Dwayne Brown, who's 37 years old. I think he started for them last year. Why can't I find my draft?
Well, while you're looking at that, I'm going to talk. I like this pick. I like Darnell Wright. He's 6'5", 330. He's a well-rounded tackle. He's played left and right at Tennessee. He can move. He can be a strong point of attack. I think he'll help the Jets' run game while also shoring up the pass protection. And he can, depending on the health of Mekhi Becton, he can play left, right. If they like Dwayne Brown, they can potentially bump Becton to right guard. But it's a good pick, gives them a lot of flexibility, and worst case scenario, best case scenario, Mekhi Becton doesn't play again, and then you have a stud tackle coming in to replace him.
Yes. Thank you for that overview. Those are the many reasons why the Jets could pick Darnell right here. I think they need offensive line, and he's the one that fell. If Paris Johnson Jr. or Skoronski fell, I could see them picking them, but the way our mock draft is going, Darnell Wright is the guy.
Right picks
Big
right.
old boy out there protecting your old man quarterback.
Grandma.
If they get him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just feel like Darnell Wright, you put him at left tackle, and if he's a stud at left tackle, congratulations, you have a franchise left tackle. If he struggles at left tackle, you put him at right tackle. And I think if he works out, he could end up being like one of the best right tackles in the league. If he still struggles at right tackle, just put him at like right guard. His lateral quickness is his probably worst trait. So put him at guard and just take it out of the equation. So it's very safe, but very good pick. Let me add that to the board. When is the Will Levis fall going to stop? I have the number 14 pick, the New England Patriots. There's a lot of ways I could go. Will Levis, I think at this point you just ride with Mac Jones.
Oh yeah,
I
I think
would
they're
not.
committed to Mac Jones. I think
I
they've been pretty.
I don't see Bill Belichick pulling trigger on Will Levis. Devin
There was a report about
Witherspoon.
them. Yeah, so they're pulling back on them. They weren't interested in Lamar at all. So I think that just confirms they're all in on Mac Jones, and then they still have Bailey Bailey Zappi, whatever his name is, as a backup who has showed promise last year.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting quarterback debate quarterback battle to watch in the training camp and preseason. So I think the Patriots are actually in a good spot here. They can go Devin Witherspoon or Joey Porter Jr. two good man coverage corners. They could attack edge with Nolan Smith or Miles Murphy. They could. I know they could use receiver. I don't like this receiving class.
Yeah, I don't think you'd take
between what's available, Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnson. Quentin Johnson's probably the best fit. He has the size, and he's been productive at TCU. But I just think if you put Quentin Johnson in any of like the last 4 years of drafts, he's like the sixth receiver taking. So I don't like taking him number one pick, second receiver in the draft. I think the pick that screams Patriots is and I have to find him on my board. Whoops, that's why I messed up. I messed up picks on my draft board. No worries, I can fix that. Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama. Yeah, he's 5'11", 190. He's a great athlete. He can play corner. He's shown that he's he can come up and stop the run. He can explode. I think his best thing is just going downhill, whether it's to break up a pass, to come up and tackle a runner. He has good speed. Like I said, he can play safety or corner. He, I won't say it's a comp, but he does remind me of Devin McCourty a little bit. He's been at Alabama where they get coached pretty well. This season he had 90 tackles, 14 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. Those are pretty absurd numbers. And keeping it at Alabama, like he kind of has flashes of Minkah Fitzpatrick. But this just, for me, just seems like an obvious Bill Belichick type pick.
Yeah, everything you said makes sense. I could see if Bijan Robinson fell down to 14 at New England, he could take him because, like you said, I think Bill Belichick, he's kind of a wild card in the draft.
It'd be a nice combo having Bijan Robinson up there with what's
Stevenson.
his name? Yeah, Ramondre. That'd be nice. A little two-headed dragon.
Yep. But yeah, Branch is pretty flexible with what he can do on the field. Like you mentioned, he can drop down into the slot.
I'll be honest, he wasn't even on my radar moving into draft season. And then I was looking at like who are like the top safeties, and I kept seeing his name, and then I started watching some of his clips, and
pretty versatile.
He's a baller. Like he's just put him out there somewhere on your defense, and he'll make plays. Moving on to the next pick, the Green Bay Packers. RJ, you are on the clock. Let's see what you go with. A lot of options still available.
I'm gonna go with position of need here for the Packers after they lost the tight end there in free agency. They're going with Michael Mayer at Notre Dame. give Jordan Love another weapon because there's not really any receivers I would take here. You got Wilkinson, Wilson, Watson, Christian Watson.
Christian Watson.
Yeah, I think he kind of showed why they drafted him. I think he can hopefully step up to that number one. But they don't really have a tight end. Tunyon left. Myers, big, good size. They can give him a nice pass catcher.
Yeah, I think it's this pick, screams Green Bay, a tight end. I think he's got good size. It's like he's like 6'4", 6'5", 250. He has, those buttery soft hands you look for, but he also will function as basically an extra lineman in the run game.
Yeah, exactly.
He's reminiscent of Patriots tight end. We used to be on the Chargers. Someone help me.
Antonio Gates?
No, right now.
Oh, now Parham?
No, Hunter Henry.
Oh, he's on the Patriots now, though. Sorry. I think he's currently on the Chargers.
No. Yeah, reminds me of him.
Hunter Henry-esque, yeah.
Yeah, like nothing like super flashy, just productive. Doesn't really have a weakness. So yeah, good pick, especially if they're going to be going with Jordan Love this year.
Yeah, give him all the help.
Yeah, he's been in the league for a few years now, but obviously hasn't started much. Tight ends are always a nice little security blanket for the young quarterbacks. Down the middle, short passes, big body. So,
yes, indeed. All right, so going on to number 16, the Washington Commanders.
I know what I wanted to say.
You're on the clock.
I think this pick would make RJ happy as a Commanders fan. I'm gonna go with who I think is the next guy up at this position, and that's gonna be Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois.
Yes.
The Commanders have who do they have? They have Kendall Fuller, who's I think he's pretty good. RJ, I don't remember how big.
I think he thrives better in the slot and playing safety than playing an outside corner, but he could play outside if we need him to.
Yeah, you guys don't have much depth outside of him. I was looking at your depth chart. I'm not
we
super.
We have St. Just, who's shown a lot of good over bad.
But he's ended the last 2 years on injured reserve. I read.
Yeah, that's when healthy. That's the only unfortunate because he's nice. Yeah. He's like 6'2", 6'3", long, fast, athletic. But yeah, he hasn't stayed healthy.
I think if you plug in Devin Witherspoon here, though, he could arguably be your number one cornerback right off the get. He's super aggressive. He has ball skills. I think he led I can't remember. I had the stat and now it's gone. Whatever. But he can play man coverage. Sometimes he gets a little too excited in that aggression man coverage press, trying to get the big play interception, but he can do it. He's a good tackler, so he can get up there with the big dogs in the run game, which you always love to see. So I think that's a solid pick for Washington here. You could also, there's Joey Porter still out there, and
that's who I would have picked, Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, right now for me it's Gonzalez, Witherspoon, then Joey Porter, but I think you could fluctuate that depending on what you like.
Yeah, I like this pick. I think he fits well with their secondary. Like you said, he could be their make the move to their number one corner. He might be the best man corner in the class. No disrespect, because we all know how good he is. He's kind of like this year's poor man's Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
In real, come Thursday, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes a lot higher. Good pick for the Commanders, though.
Yeah, I was thinking he could go higher as well, and then leaving us with Joey Porter. And it would be funny though if we do get Joey Porter Jr., because then it would be second year in a row we drafted a Penn State player at number 16. Because Jahan Dotson last year was the exact same.
Oh
number.
yeah. He was. That's funny. Did not.
It could
put
work out
the
that way,
one
but
and
I would
two
take.
together.
I would honestly take either one. Obviously, Christian Gonzalez would be nice too, but he's going to go way earlier. Any secondary with our first round pick is what I want as a Commanders fan. If not secondary, O-line, don't even think about trading back. Dan, if you try to screw us before you leave, I'm coming for you. I'll poop and
Oh,
Will Levis. Will Levis.
We wish you were on the show last week, because we talked about the owners and stuff. We were like, "Is this?" We were talking about that one rumor with that one guy who has no money, but he says,
Oh,
I
dude, I do not. If that guy ends up being our,
we were saying it's Dan Snyder's. You know the
He's just a
meme where
front.
the guy's got like
Yeah.
the coat on and he's got that evil smile and he's just getting into the car with the automatic door closing. That would be Dan Snyder selling it
Oh,
to
man.
that guy.
No, let's go Josh Harris and Magic Johnson. Let's go.
Yep.
Get it done.
All right. Moving on to pick 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got this pick, and this is a no-brainer. This is what I had written before we even started, so I'm happy it worked out. But I'm going Joey Porter Jr.
Bob Saget.
You got the bloodline. Physically speaking, he's probably the best corner in the draft. He's 6'2", close to 200 pounds. He's
Just
very twitchy. He has great change of direction skills. He has the potential to be a shadow shutdown corner for nearly any receiver. He's just got to fine tune some things, but the Steelers usually get things worked out on their defense. So I'm taking Joey Porter Jr. to go to his dad's former team, and continue the legacy.
Would be cool, but he'd already be gone by then. Sorry.
I'll be honest, I do like Christian Gonzalez and Devin Witherspoon better, but at 17, this is still a very good value.
Yeah, I've seen him there on a lot of mock drafts.
Let's go to pick 18, the Detroit Lions, and RJ, you are on the clock.
Good old Detroit. So this one's a little tougher than the first time. I can't believe I got him twice.
You twice got the teams with two draft choices.
You got Tyree Wilson, so you got the front, the defensive front solidified.
And I definitely don't think they're going quarterback, especially like I said earlier.
Will Levis
well
is
enough
just
to keep him.
Will Levis.
That's why I said that too, because he's still sitting there. But honestly, they need some help in their secondary too. So I'm gonna go with the Maryland boy,
Tay Banks.
It's pretty cool to see. There's like 3 players. I don't know how well the wide receiver will do. I think there's 2 wide receivers from Maryland.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't know how high that they'll go, but there's a little bit of talk, just for pure speed purposes too. The one guy, I can't remember, Jameer. I can't remember his name. I could probably scroll down and find it. But yeah. Anyway, so the Lions went Jeff Okudah a couple years back, high first round pick. He showed flashes when healthy.
You picked Deontay Banks?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I heard a different name, but
Tay. He said Tay.
He goes by Tay.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, we hang out sometimes.
Sure.
Maryland boys. It's like anyway. So Jeff Okudah didn't really work out, as we saw. They just traded him. I think even before the trade, they was I think willing to give him a shot, but if an offer comes up, you take it. They need secondary help. pretty bad. They gave up, I think, the most passing yards last year. They were throwing, crazy. And I think the first 5 weeks they led the league in receiving yards, and they also defensively were the worst team against receiving. It was equal. They were giving up as much as they were getting. And the Lions are trending upwards, and Dan Campbell seemed to change the culture. Best thing you can do is solidify that secondary.
Yeah, I mean, with Deontay Banks, I think you can make an argument that he got better every year at Maryland. He's 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. He ran a 4.35 at the combine. He kind of similar to the Joey Porter Jr. He's gonna run with you, stay right on your hip, get his length in there to try and break up passes. Definitely has room to get better, but the physical makeup is there. And like I said, the thing that I think people like about him is he definitely clearly got better every year at Maryland, even coming off an injury in 2021. And he's been a big riser throughout this draft process. So,
and he doesn't really have the one thing he's extraordinarily good at, athletically or anything, but he has everything is exceptional, across the board. He does everything overall well. He doesn't have one particular thing you can sit there on film and be like, oh wow, he can do this better than but overall solid.
Not bad. So the run at corner has begun. Moving on to pick number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Sasquatch.
That's funny. 3 in a row.
You're on the clock.
All right. Draft board worked out this way. I think Tampa Bay would be very happy. I'm going Will Levis.
Yep. This is where he goes.
Tom Brady retired. So we think they draft Will Levis. I'm coming back. I don't think they would allow that. But yeah, Will Levis here. I think Tampa Bay, they have Baker Mayfield, who, it's kind of just a spot guy for a year, I'm assuming, if they can't get a quarterback they like. Even with Will Levis, Baker's been in the league for a few years. He has started. He has played in the playoffs. He can, even though he hasn't been able to turn it on the field, he can still give a young quarterback a couple pointers here and there just for being that veteran presence. Tampa Bay also obviously needs quarterback. Levis, we talked about him last week. I'm not a huge fan of his, especially most of my feelings on certain players. It's not necessarily that I don't like them. It's just that I don't like them where they're projected with a lot of these mock drafts. Levis, I see going as high as number 3 sometimes if the Cardinals trade.
I mean, he's got a big
I've
body.
even heard the Panthers might like him.
He's got a big body. He's got a strong arm. It shouldn't matter, but it does. But he's a good-looking guy.
All right, you're off the show. We don't do that nonsense here. He's got a good looking partner too, doesn't he?
But the mayonnaise in the coffee.
Oh God, I forgot about that. Retract the pick.
He puts mayonnaise in his coffee.
That. I don't know if he's trolling.
We're not
or
sure.
Not.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out, is this guy trolling or is it true? But he said he puts mayonnaise in his coffee and
he eats bananas whole.
Eats banana peels on his with the bananas. So, anyways, besides that stuff, he's got a huge arm. He's got the physical build.
He's tough.
If you watch his highlights, I don't love his overall mechanics, footwork and release and all that. It's just not quite that pro look that you want. But he can work on that, and he's going to have NFL guys, a QB coach, all that jazz working on that with him. I wouldn't rush to start him.
You know who he reminds me of?
What was I going to say?
And listen, if Will Levis does fall all the way to this pick, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are all over it. But he reminds me of Jake Locker. Had they came out a year
I could see that.
prior, they're potentially number one overall picks. They stay, have a down year, get exposed a little bit. They were both good builds, good arms, just mobile enough. But the accuracy was a problem. And like I said, when you talk about a quarterback and the first thing you say is tough, makes me worry a little bit.
Yeah, he even reminds me
It's fair.
of it's different, but like one of my biggest gripes with Carson Wentz was, and I was in denial at first because he was playing well, but the short throws he had a lot of trouble on because Carson Wentz could either throw the ball really far or he could throw it really hard. And he could throw it with touch deep, but you're just throwing it as far as you can. When it came to short throws, it just his arm doesn't want to do it, and stuff would go over the guy in the flat's head or the checkdown's head or right into the dirt. It looks like Levis has issues with that too. He just wants to always beam the ball as hard as he can, throw as hard as he can, even 40 yards downfield, which is, it can be a pro. I mean, if you're in the red zone, the game's on the line, and if you can throw that ball on a rope 30, 40 yards downfield like Josh Allen, that's, you want that ability. But I think sometimes it can hurt him. He's also, I saw this stat, we were talking about it the other day. He's not much of a running threat, but he did convert 22 of 23 short yardage sneaks in his career. Whether you back them or not, that's stat from PFF they had. So, I mean, get him in goal line situations. He is big, and if he can convert those short yardage situations, that's a plus too. So, yeah, Tampa Bay needs a quarterback. Levis, if they can sit him, I don't hate the pick.
All right, not. I think this might be like as low as he falls. Like I don't think he'll get past Tampa Bay right here.
Yep.
All right, so number 20, Seattle Seahawks. This is my pick.
I know who it's gonna be.
I don't think you do.
I know.
So with their first pick, we went Jalen Carter. They still have some holes here and there. Looking at how the board has fell. I am gonna go and pull the trigger.
Where's the trigger?
Give me a second.
Uncertainty. The clock's going down.
I have
You're gonna
time.
make that guy run up to stage and give the card.
Okay, I am just wondering if I can pull the trigger on this. You pull the trigger to my. All right, I'm going Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa.
It's actually not bad.
He's 6'5", 270. He ran a 4.58. His athletic numbers are pretty impressive. He wasn't the most productive college player, but I think he projects well, and you're buying on the player that he could be. The Seahawks had one of the worst pass rushes in the league last year. And I think if you bring in with your 2 first-round picks, Van Ness and Carter, they both, they both excel at pass rush productivity, but they also can play the run. So that's why I'm going with him at 20.
Yeah, I mean, he's a freak. He didn't even start, right?
I don't think he started.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch his highlights, he is 100% a freak. Blitzing through, not literally blitzing, but getting through the gap with quick bursts, getting around the edge. If he can refine his abilities and add a few more pass rushing moves, he could be pretty dangerous. He's another player that I like a lot. I just don't like where he's been projected in the top 10.
Yeah,
But
he kind of was
not bad for Seattle.
yeah, he was kind of a
Adding Jalen
riser.
Carter and
But yeah, so I was debating between him, Nolan Smith, and Miles Murphy. I definitely wanted to go edge. Nolan Smith, I like him, but from a pure edge standpoint, I have concerns. I feel like he's more of a hybrid. And then Miles Murphy, I feel like he's a freak at defensive end, but I feel like he is what he is at this point. Whereas with Lucas Van Ness, you're like he's like just starting to develop.
nope, no arguments here.
All right, so next pick is the pick 21, the Chargers, and RJ, you are officially on the clock.
I'm going with Jordan Addison, wide receiver, USC.
I
The
knew that was going to be your
Chargers,
pick.
yeah, the Chargers have two good receivers. You know, Keenan Allen, a Hall of Famer, possibly Hall of Famer, but I mean Mike Williams. But Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both have injury issues. Keenan Allen's also like 31, I think, about to be 32 this year.
Getting
Um,
up there.
both big body guys. You know, Mike Williams has a little bit of speed downfield, but they don't really have a lot of speed. They rely on like backups like Josh Palmer. They had DeAndre Carter, who was a former Commander, who's a good returner, speedy guy, but they're just not every down wide receivers. Maybe gets Addison with his 4.4 speed. He's really fast. He's explosive with the ball in his hands. He's got he's shifty. He's got the wiggle. He's not the biggest guy, so if somebody actually makes contact, they'll probably tackle him pretty easily. But you got to make contact first. He has the agility, move around, a nice little weapon for Justin Herbert.
Yeah. I mean, last year when he was at Pitt, he put up insane numbers. I think he scored 18 or 17 touchdowns. He's very twitchy. And, like you said, uh, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, they're not a lock to always be on the field. So you bring in Jordan Addison, and at least for this year, the Chargers have a pretty good receiver trio. You can at least hope that at least one of them will be on the field at any given play, and that makes Justin Herbert's life a little bit easier. He doesn't have to play as much hero ball. So I knew you were going to pick him. As soon as I saw you had the Chargers pick, I knew it was going to be him.
Yeah, I mean, you could have picked either him, maybe Zay Flowers, but I went with Addison. Just felt like the better fit.
Yeah. No complaints from me. Moving on. Pick number 22, the Baltimore Ravens. What you gonna do, Sassfras?
I was debating this pick. The large dark cloud looming over the Ravens stadium right now is the Lamar Jackson situation. What's it going to be? What's going to happen? I truly believe they do want to re-sign him, and he does want to play for the Ravens, regardless of what certain reports say. And he, requested a trade, all that stuff. They gave him the non-exclusive tag. I think they still want to give him the tools he needs to succeed. They showed that by way overpaying Odell Beckham Jr. So I'm going to say they're going to give Lamar Jackson something he would like, and that would be a new toy on the outside in Quentin Johnson.
Okay.
He's a big receiver. I know he doesn't really play like your standard big-bodied receiver. He's got a little bit slighter of a frame, though he doesn't look small to me or like too slender. And he also doesn't, I think he's 6'3" or 6'4". He
Maybe
doesn't
like 6'2".
necessarily. I thought he was like 6'3".
His official height was like 6'2".
Put cleats on him. He's 6'3".
I'm pretty sure TCU had him listed as 6'4", but the combine he was 6'2".
Liars. Either way, he looks tall. 6'2", 6'4", whatever. It's not a lot of corners are that big, anyways.
I mean, he plays big.
Yeah. I mean, he for being the size he is really good at being explosive off the line of scrimmage and making plays downfield. He has I can't remember the exact number, but his yards per catch is
22.
Pretty. Yeah, that's top tier and some. So he can make explosive abilities. He's like I said, he's a big body, which I think is good for Lamar Jackson, since Lamar Jackson's not, notoriously elite at throwing on the outside in the breadbasket, but he can occasionally, and Quentin Johnson can continue to build on, his abilities and the size he does have to make plays on the ball. He should have a decent radius for his size. I know he's mostly finesse, making plays with his speed for his side and beating corners. But that's what I would do if I was the Ravens, if they truly want Lamar Jackson back.
Yeah.
I think it's a good pick.
Hey, we've all said this is the greatest receiving class ever. Quentin Johnson. My thing with him is leading up, all I heard was, big body, freak athlete. And then turns out he's not as big. And he ran a slow 40, but he attacks the ball. I was saying poor man Mike Williams, like he's gonna he gets up there and he has good body control. And I mean, he had 22 yards per catch, so maybe he's one of those players that on the field they're just hard to get your hands on. But this would give the Ravens Bateman, Beckham, and now Quentin Johnson to maybe play more inside with Mark Andrews. And this would set up two things. It would take away the rumors and draft capital to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. It was actually three things. It would give Lamar by far the best weapons he's ever had. And then three, if Lamar does leave, you will have two young receivers in Bateman and Johnson to grow with their next quarterback.
Yep.
All right. Pick number 3, the Minnesota Vikings. I got this pick. So if we look at the Vikings, their needs are corner, receiver, really defense, but outside of their front four, potentially running back if they move on from Dalvin Cook. If we look at what's available, there's Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, that receiver.
Go edge.
Defensively on edge, Miles Murphy, Nolan Smith, cornerback. This is a really deep cornerback class, so even though we had a run, there's still talent available. There's a corner I like. I'm not sure he'll go this early. So the player that I'm going to go with for the Vikings, I am going to go with Keely Ringo.
You can eat a butt without salt and pepper. God damn it. No flavor in your freaking game.
So, okay, I'll be honest. He's kind of the enigma at corner in this draft. I know some people I follow say he's the number one corner overall. He was like a top
he's
recruit.
The most physical corner overall.
He's a top recruit coming into Georgia. He's 6'1", 210. I feel like he was a little disappointing in college, but he's super aggressive, super physical. He's going to want to jam at the line. He
Good tackler.
fights for the ball. Yeah, he's going to be there in run support. The Vikings corner sucked last year. It's one of the reasons why they got torched by the Giants in the playoffs. I could have gone. You could have convinced me to go maybe Cam Smith here. He's a very athletic boundary corner, and with the talent still available on the D line, maybe could pull the trigger on Miles Murphy. But I feel like the Vikings, they just need help in the secondary, and they can't pass up this chance.
Yeah, I mean their defense was pretty. Let's see. They were 31st. I don't know if you already said this. Sorry, but they're 31st in the NFL in pass yards allowed per game. No hurt in adding a cornerback to that group.
Yeah, they allowed 266 pass yards per game, and then I don't know if I'll be able to pull it up, but they just in that Giants game they couldn't stop the Giants receivers. Like every time I
Which is
looked
pathetic.
away and came back, a Giants receiver was making a big catch to uh, keep the momentum on the Giant side. So maybe come Thursday, it might not be Keely Ringo, but it'll be a DB. So that's my pick. Moving
Fair enough.
forward, we have the Jaguars at pick 24, and RJ, you are on the clock.
Well, since Taylor loves throwing wrenches in my draft board over here, I'm going to say the Jacksonville Jaguars going with Brian Breesy. I don't think they're going to reach down too far
I
for
like
Cam
him.
Smith. They don't really have a. I mean, they have what's his name, Fatukasi.
Yeah,
You know, Fatukasi. He's solid, but they don't really have any staple on the D line. I think he can be that. I think we talked about him in our trenches pod. He's for his size. He's got great athleticism. He could go. He could use his speed. He can bull rush you. I think it'd be a nice fit.
yeah, he's 6'5", a smidge under 300 pounds, but he's got a lot of power. He can create a really impressive bull rush. He has an interesting college career because of stuff that was going on, but he's just a disruptor. Like, I don't know if he's going to be a dominant run stopper or put up insane sack numbers, but he will make the rest of their D line better. That's what he will do.
Agreed.
Yep, he's a big boy. I like him. I wouldn't be mad if he fell to 30 if the Eagles keep that pick.
Fair.
All right, next on the clock, New York Giants at pick 25. Sass, this is you.
If I'm the Giants, I'm running up to give this card. I'm going Zay Flowers, wide receiver out of Boston College.
Ooh.
They just signed, well, not just, but they re-signed Daniel Jones this offseason to a pretty generous contract, I think. Dable got the most out of that offense, really squeezed it for all the juices it had. Saquon Barkley had his best year since his rookie season. You know, what's going to happen with that, I'm not sure. I believe he's not signing the franchise tag at this point, and he wants a
As
contract.
of right now,
Yeah, so we'll see what's going to happen with that. They have other needs elsewhere. They could go. There's a couple other players that I could see them picking if they made it here, like Brian Branch, maybe a corner, but we've gone pretty heavy corner in this draft. And right now their depth chart for wide receivers sitting at Isaiah Hodgkins, Paris Campbell, Darius Slayton. Nothing particularly to write home about. They did trade for Darren Waller, so that shows you that they're committed to helping Daniel Jones and get back to the playoffs, because that's what they did last year. And Zay Flowers, super, super explosive, quick accelerator, can make plays in the open field. He's pretty slight in his size, but Dable, I think, is creative enough, and he showed that last year with Daniel Jones and Barkley getting players in the positions they need, that he can make it work with Zay Flowers, maybe putting him in motion, getting him in mismatches. Man, whatever they need to do, I think Dable will do to get Zay Flowers the ball, whether that's put him on the outside and get open, put him on the inside in motion, get on a linebacker that's not going to be able to cover him. If they can just get the ball in his hands in some kind of open space, the acceleration, burst, playmaking ability is there for him to be a pretty solid option for Daniel Jones in that offense. So
no complaints here. He's a lightning fast receiver. Gives Daniel Jones weapons, and also like this will make this year for Daniel Jones a may come out this year, or the Giants are gonna really regret that contract. And if he does become a deep threat, like an elite deep threat, that'll just open up things for Barkley too. So yeah, good pick. So moving to pick 26, it's the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be my pick. If you look at the Cowboys, they could use interior, D-line, guard, could maybe use a receiver, maybe linebacker, running back. They have a hole at tight end. Part of me does want to take Dalton Kincaid, but I think that's a little bit early for him. I just don't see the Cowboys pulling the trigger on that. A pick that is catching my eye is Nolan Smith. He's kind of, poor man's Micah Parsons. I'd be intrigued what the Cowboys would like to do with that combo, moving between edge and linebacker. But am I gonna do it? I'm trying to think like Jerry Jones. I don't know if that's
I think
good
Jerry Jones would have really liked Zay Flowers.
Yeah, he would have. I think it's too early for. All right, this is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with. I always jack up the pronunciation. Is it Kalijah Cansey? Defensive tackle.
I knew you were going to pick Cansey.
Defensive tackle out of Pittsburgh. He's kind of like the. He's kind of like the Aaron Donald hopeful clone. He's 6'1", 280. I can't remember the 40 that he ran, but it was quite astounding. I can pull it up real quick. Of course, no one wants to just put it on the front page for me to read it. If he ran a 4.67 40, he was a productive player at Pittsburgh. Of course, Aaron Donald's alma mater. He's one of those defense tackles that like to explode, get skinny, and just his main thing is just to be penetrating upfield. He's not going to be a great gap defender, and he needs to put on a little more weight or strength to get a better anchor. But with the Cowboys defense, the last 2 years, they've shown that they want to create pressure and create turnovers. So what better way than adding this, speeding bullet at defensive tackle that is just going to give their quarterback one more thing to think of when you're already trying to figure out wherever they line up Micah Parsons on the field.
I just give you credit because nothing the Cowboys do will ever fix that horrible dump of crap they have as a team. Wouldn't even try.
Yeah, so this was probably the hardest pick I had. They could have gone, there's not really a receiver. I think Dalton Kincaid would be a reach. There's no running back. Like, sure, I could see if Bijan falls in real life, they trade up, or I could see them being in love with I could see them being in love with Jamari Gibbs. And then I looked at Osiris Torrance to fill in at guard for them. But at the end of the day, I think Cansey, a lot of people have him projected going a lot earlier, so I had to pull the trigger on him. Fair. So that takes us to pick number 27, Buffalo Bills, and Sass is on the clock. Buffalo!
You're the wrong person.
RJ is on the clock.
Who? The goddamn bull. Anyway.
The bull.
You look at the Buffalo
bison,
Bills.
The wild bison.
You go with their biggest need. They lost Traymon Edmonds in free agency. Pretty big loss to the linebacker. They have Matt Milano, but he's I'd say he's like we were playing Madden here. He's like a 77. He's no number one.
Matt
linebacker.
Milano?
Yeah.
He's a stud. He's
not Traymon Edmonds though, is what I'm saying.
He's better than Traymon Edmonds. He's better than Edmonds.
That's just Taylor talking crap over here. West Side Taylor Tales. You really think this?
I think he's 100% better than Traymon Edwards.
He's distracting you. You're going to miss your pick.
The Buffalo Bills are going with Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. 6'4" linebacker. Technically, it's linebacker safety combo, but he's played more linebacker. I think he has the biggest upside.
Who? Drew Sanders. You're really pulling Drew Sanders? Okay, all right.
Listen, this man went from Alabama, completely different defense, played great. Goes to Arkansas, more of an off-ball linebacker. Plays great too. He's versatile.
No, my depth.
He's there.
I'm just kidding.
He also played the edge. I think he has the biggest upside. His ceiling is the highest. It may take a creative defensive coordinator to get everything out of him, but I think it could be phenomenal.
Listen, the only reason I'm not giving you more crap is because you've brought up a lot of players throughout the years where I was like, who the hell is that? And then they end up being a Pro Bowler. So I'm going to circle this name. I don't know where he's going to go. Watch him go in third round when it comes Thursday. But if he ends up being like a first team rookie, Are
you doing Terry McLaurin bet? You want to do a Terry McLaurin bet?
Well, I got to think of the parameters. I got to think of the parameters.
Anytime.
Like what? I'll make this bet, but what are the parameters?
I don't know. I remember the Terry McLaurin was you only gave him 300 yards receiving or something like that, which is he had like 850 that.
Drew Sanders, rookie linebacker.
Do some kind of like playtime thing.
Like game started?
Time or tackles?
No, like
80 tackles.
Well, yeah,
80 tackles.
Do tackles. Yeah, do tackles.
I can't
because special team snaps doesn't count.
80 total tackles, not solo.
80 total tackles, Fuji bet. I'll do that.
No. Whoever loses has to shave to mutton chops.
What? I don't know if RG will make that bet.
Yeah, no.
Listen, Fuji bet. 80 total tackles, Fuji bet.
I'm with it.
All right. Virtual handshake.
We got the good hands here, too.
Trevor's here as witness. 80 total tackles, rookie year, Fuji bet.
Watch him
his first game. Like, he had 15 tackles. It's never been done.
Watch him get like all
We'll
these
see.
other crazy stats,
These-
but only gets like 65, 70 tackles, but it has like 4 picks, 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, like some crazy
wins-
stuff, but it doesn't matter because he only got
he
65
wins Rookie
tackles.
Defensive Player of the Year. All right. Okay, so
I like it.
Buffalo
Add
Bills,
some-
Drew
add some more flavor
Sanders
to the-
out of Arkansas. Next pick, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at 28, and Sassafras, you are on the clock.
Cincinnati. They have a certain position on offense, which is a very explosive offense, pending Joe Mixon here. I have a feeling he's not going to be on the team next year, but, running backs nowadays, plug and play. You can find somebody in the later rounds. Their tight end position, they got Irv Smith Jr. right now is tight end 1. They've lost.
like Irv Smith.
I had him in fantasies. Not good enough.
Healthy,
Um,
health questions.
Yeah, they've lost tight ends 2 free agencies in a row. They had Hayden Hurst. He's gone. I'm gonna go with Dalton Kincaid here for them.
Uzama the year before, yeah.
Yeah, you're adding another weapon to what they already have. They have T. Higgins, obviously, Jamar Chase. We'll see a running back. Joe Burrow, obviously,
I think
arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
is Joe Mixon getting in trouble for what happened or no? I can't remember.
I don't know the legal situation, but I did hear that the Cincinnati asked him to take a pay cut, and if he refuses, they're going to cut him. That's what I've read.
Mm.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure what's going on there. But either way, they need a tight end. I could see them possibly trading back. I don't know if that's really feasible. I don't know who would want to trade into this spot, honestly. But Dalton Kincaid, he's a little undersized, but he's a very capable catcher. I think you could. I'll be honest. I don't know by watching him enough where he lines up consistently. Lined up consistently.
He's definitely a move downfield receiver at tight end. Like he's more of a modern, not
Travis
size wise.
Kelce-esque.
Yeah, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
And he's raw and very new to the sport too.
Yeah, I think he's only played 5 years of football. But he's a very capable catcher. If you watch his highlights, he always seems to snag the ball. I just think he's a very good weapon to add to this offense. Joe Burrow, I think adding that to their offense, an inside tight end threat that has playmaking abilities to what they have on the outside already with their receivers, just makes this offense even more lethal. And I think he could come in and be the day one starter. Could bulk up a little bit, would help him in blocking situations, but I think he could still get out there and do a little bit of blocking. So
not bad. I have no qualms with it. Give more weapons to your stud quarterback. That's what you do. Pick 29, the New Orleans Saints. This is my pick again. With the way our board has fell, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. I'm going with Miles Murphy out of Clemson. 6'4", 270.
He fell a bit.
I think he's gonna fall. I see him up high sometimes, but I think he's due for a little bit of a fall. Maybe not this far. He's a three-year starter at Clemson. He he doesn't have the best production. He's gone 4 sacks, 7 sacks, and he had 6.5. And then he had 11 tackles for a loss. He's going to be, I think he'll be a productive edge rusher. I don't know if he's ever going to be, like a 14 plus sack a year guy, but I think he reminds me of maybe like a younger Brandon Graham, Derek Morgan esque, where he's not going to be a Pro Bowler, but he's going to be a consistent year in, year out starting edge for you. He is very athletic. He has the speed to shoot towards quarterbacks. He has the power to knock back. He's going to have the power to knock back NFL tackles. He's got a very solid frame to play edge in the NFL. I think his biggest thing is most people are going to argue he might be capped out. Like what you get as like drafting right now might be what you get for the rest of his career. He can fix up some stuff technique wise, add some pass rush moves to his game is going to help him. And I think for him developing a second move, well, because NFL tackles are going to be much better about stopping his first go, so being able to adjust and develop that. But falling all the way to pick 29 for the Saints, I think they're all over this.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we go to pick 30, the Philadelphia Eagles. RJ, you're on the clock.
Going back to Philly.
Ooh,
Going
you get
back
one of
to
mine, I
Philly.
get one of yours.
Philly.
Back to
Philly.
So I was kind of torn between two people. One has slipped down pretty far, being Nolan Smith. And then the second one is one I actually chose to go with, which being Jahmyr Gibbs.
Wait,
I drafted Bijan
he
Robinson.
drafted Bijan Robinson.
Oh, for the Eagles? I forgot you did
Yeah.
that because on my mock draft, he's no. That's fucking.
It's not a bad pick. I wouldn't do it in the first round, but
Alright.
it's not a bad pick if they don't go Bijan.
Yeah, because you guys no more Miles Sanders. You guys bring in Penny, but who knows? You got Gainwell, who showed a lot last year, and then good old reliable third down back Boston Scott. But
So who would you pick?
Well, since you already have Bijan,
Since
fucking
I picked
Dijon
Bijan.
Mustard, I'm gonna go Nolan Smith. Doesn't hurt to help pass rush on the outside. You got Brandon Graham's in his later years. You guys drafted big boy. What's his name last year? Defensive tackle Jordan Davis. Yeah, I think it would do nothing but help your defense out at the end of the day. Can't be
another luxury pick, but a luxury I think the Eagles can afford to have. He just brings a very rare explosiveness to the front. And the thing is, the Eagles D-line, even though it's a little older, is still kind of loaded, especially if Jordan Davis bumps in to be a starter. And then you add Nolan Smith, who you can send on stunts or maybe have him off-ball blitzing in. He's so fast that if you don't account for him, it's just going to be unreal for quarterbacks to adjust to that.
Eagles seem very scary per usual. God dang it.
I've seen him projected at 10, so if they can get him at 30, I would be very happy.
Yeah, it's
funny because they could very easily take him at 10 and still get Bijan at 30.
Yeah, that's the way this draft. It's going to be an exciting draft. Yeah, I would be very happy with that.
Yeah, there's still a lot of talent on the board. But going to pick number 31, there's only 31 picks this year. I can't remember who lost their pick, but one team lost their pick.
Yeah, it's very odd. When I was looking at the results,
I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank. I'll pull it up while you're looking. But 31, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, and Sass, you're on the clock.
Yeah. Shocked that Nolan Smith fell, but it just worked out that way. I was going to pick him.
It's the Dolphins lost their pick.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know you were asking that. Sorry.
Was that?
Yeah, Dolphins lost their pick because of the last year's owner, Brian Flores thing.
Saying they were tanking and all that.
Yeah. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm taking DeJuan Jones here, the Mountain Behemoth offensive tackle. They lost Orlando Brown and what's his name? Who's that other offensive lineman they lost? Andrew Wiley.
Wiley went to Washington.
Yeah, they signed Jawan Taylor. I don't know who else they have, but anyways, DeJuan Jones. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I like him. He's huge. He can move well for how big he is. Just that's the size he is alone is just. He's unless he ends up being a complete bust. Just his size alone and ability, he's just going to be hard to get around for edge guys. He can really, if you watch his highlights, throws those big mitts out there and packs a punch. You just won the Super Bowl, so they did lose some pieces, but they're still a solid team. You have Patrick Mahomes still. Why not add more protection there? I think Andy Reid's really good at getting the most out of his guys, and I would like this pick.
Yeah, I think Jones I think he can come in and being a starting right tackle from day one. Just the size alone, and he could be someone like, just look at Orlando Brown. He was drafted mainly because of his size. I know he was productive at Oklahoma, but they protected him there a little bit with just their offensive philosophy. And he came in, was immediately one of the top right tackles in football, moved to left tackle. I think he's a little overrated at left tackle, but he's not bad. And I think coming into this draft, DeJuan Jones is probably the same spot that Orlando Brown was. Orlando Brown was, I think, a third-round pick when the Ravens took him. So I think the Chiefs would be happy with this pick.
Yep. Yeah, there's a few other guys I think I could see them taking. It's the last pick in the first round, so there's a few options. Trade back. Who knows? It might trade forward. I doubt it, and there's still some other guys at 31, but I like Big Boy, the Mountain.
Yep, no complaints here. I think it's a solid pick. Just to discuss it real quick in our draft, never mind, my thing just crashed, so I can't even discuss who's still available, but there's still a lot of that. Every year you see that you get out of the first round, there's all these picks that fell, and you're curious who's going to trade up early in the second to snag them. But Will McDonald was available. Gibbs was available still. Hendon Hooker is still on the board. Emmanuel Forbes. Josh Downs. Antonio Harrison. There's still a lot of linebackers, just traditional linebackers still available. Osiris Torrance still on the board. So definitely a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
So unless there's anything else you guys wanted to discuss, that does it for the No Interference 2023 official pre-draft mock draft. We'll probably get it posted up so you can look at it. But thanks for tuning in for this episode. Let us know if you agreed with some of the picks, whether you liked them. Depending on what your team you root for, let us know your opinions on where they should go. But as always, thanks for tuning in. You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We are also on social media at The NI Show on Instagram and Twitter. If you enjoyed your time with us, give us a like, share, subscribe, follow. That does it for today's show. So adios.
See you.
Peace.